I have the great pleasure to welcome Mr. Badr Ikken, who is from Morocco. You started your career after studying in Germany, working for several technology companies in Germany, so you have an industrial background. You also joined later the Moroccan Solar Energy Agency, Massen. I think those of you who are a bit familiar with Morocco, they know Massen as an important player. Then you are now executive director and the founder of the National Institute of Research in Solar Energy and New Energies, and you play a very important role in developing a national hydrogen strategy for Morocco. And I know that you have also the geographical, the regional context, of course, in mind when you talk about that. So we look forward to hearing from Morocco.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for the kind introduction. It's a real pleasure for me to represent the African continent today, speaking about this very important topic for the future. I will start to share my screen. And then, of course, first of all, I would like then to thank the World Wind Energy Association for the kind invitation. Today, I would like to introduce our activities on the national level as well as on the regional level. And I would like as well to speak about the most important steps to develop our national strategy for hydrogen. And we are as well speaking about the national strategy for Power-to-X. First of all, let me introduce briefly Iresen, the Research Institute for Solar Energy and New Energies. A few years ago, I was in Boston at MIT, and one of the professors presented for him the equation for Africa's future. And he said that Africa's future and the economic growth will be strongly dependent on, of course, climate change, population growth, as well as technology adoption. And this is then the heart of our activity. This is the technology adoption. We are a funding agency for applied research in the field of clean technologies, and we are developing a network of R&D facilities to be a bridge between universities and companies. We established already different R&D platforms, applied research platforms. Those are like living labs for different topics: solar energy, photovoltaics, thermal solar energy, as well as green buildings. And we are now preparing one R&D platform for hydrogen and applications of hydrogen. And I would like to explain as well why this topic is very important for Morocco and why do we have as well then a high potential. First of all, the regional context. We know since many years that we have a very high potential regarding solar energy, but as well regarding wind energy. I have to say that wind energy might play for Morocco a very important role regarding the production of clean hydrogen, green hydrogen, because of the high load factor. We have in our country some hotspots in which we have very high load factor. And if you remember, a few years ago, we spoke about Desertec, the possibility to provide clean electricity, green electricity for Europe coming from North Africa. And I think that slowly, through the possibilities of hydrogen, green hydrogen, this will become a reality. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, why slowly this is not anymore only than a dream. This is especially linked to the costs of this clean electricity. If you have here some examples regarding the LCOE, levelized cost of electricity, of actual tenders in different countries, and slowly we're going below this limit of $2 or 2 euro cent per kilowatt hour to be competitive and to have an affordable production of clean hydrogen. We think that Morocco has a strong potential. Why this is then the case? I spoke already about then the renewable energy potential in our country. If I have to speak, or if I have to give some examples, we were able to develop large-scale solar, concentrated solar power, and it is as well the case regarding the wind energy. On the other hand, we have a strong political support. We have as well a very strong international partnerships. I might say that maybe one of the most important energy partnership is with Germany, and we signed a few months ago an agreement, a kind of alliance between Morocco and Germany regarding the topic of hydrogen, and I will then tell you more about this agreement. We are developing R&D infrastructures. From the beginning, it was important for us to involve the industry and to have a real commitment as well from the private sector. Today, if we have large-scale solar power plant in Morocco, this is it was possible through the partnership between the public and the private sector. Last but not least, we are very well connected with Europe. We have then the electric connection with our neighbors in Europe as well as in Africa, with our neighbor in Algeria. We have as well then the gas pipelines, and there are a lot of opportunities as well through maritime transport. And if you allow me maybe then to highlight only one point, if we speak about the wind onshore potential in Morocco, and if we have only then to take 5% of the technical potential, we're speaking about then more than 300 gigawatts of potential in our country, which might be then used to produce as well then green hydrogen and other clean or green derivatives of hydrogen. Everything started, I will say, regarding our strong engagement for hydrogen a few years ago. 2018, we worked together with the World Energy Council, and the World Energy Council with Frontier Economics conducted a study to identify some countries with a huge potential. And Morocco was identified of one of the front runners because of all the different aspects which I highlighted then before. And we conducted some studies, and we know that Morocco might have an opportunity to cap up to 8% of the global power to X markets. And we're speaking about then a market of around about 200 up to 400 billions of euros. What were then the steps which we conducted? We started with a market and technology study in partnership with one Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. And later on, we conducted a second study to identify the opportunities and the potential for Morocco. After the first studies, our energy minister decided to set up a national commission for hydrogen, a national commission. At the beginning we spoke about then a Power to X commission, now we're speaking about then a hydrogen national commission. And this commission is now finishing the Moroccan roadmap for hydrogen or for Power to X. And I think that in the next weeks, or maybe then in the next 3 months, our minister will publish the national strategy for hydrogen. And as I said then before, we signed as well an agreement with Germany to have this first strong international energy partnership in this region between Europe and Africa, between Africa and Europe. And here you might then see for the short term what might be then the first important steps. The strategy is identifying that the use of hydrogen, and especially then ammonia as an industry feedstock, would be important at the beginning. Why? Because in Morocco we are importing every year around about 2 million tons of ammonia for the fertilizer industry. And later on as well, then for the short term, the export possibilities through ammonia as well as through other liquid fuels. For the midterm, we will have then the use of green hydrogen for the grid stability as well as for the good transport, heavy truck as well as heavy truck transports, public transportation, and for the long term, passenger vehicles as well, industrial heat, and maritime transport, railway, and aviation. This is only then to give you then an overview about the important sectors in which green hydrogen will play an important role. And this is what I said then before. We will start with the production of green hydrogen and as well as green ammonia for the fertilizer industry. And later on, we would like then to produce as well synthetic liquid fuels like synthetic diesel, synthetic kerosene, and of course as well green methanol. And for our projections, we think that this would be then realistic to add in our network, in our country, to be able as well then to provide this quantity of ammonia for the fertilizer industry as well then for the export. It would be realistic to add up to 20 gigawatts, around about 10 gigawatt of solar energy, 10 gigawatt for wind energy, as well as for the medium term 2040 up to 60 gigawatt, 30 gigawatt for solar energy and 30 gigawatt for wind energy. And of course, research and innovation. Our idea was and we would like to support this strategy as well through research, because the idea is to avoid the mistakes which we did in the past, for example, regarding solar energy. I am speaking about maybe I will say the regional mistake, because we prepared markets, we prepared frameworks, but we didn't support our industries. And the idea, I think we have now an opportunity to support as well our industries, local content and industrial integration. We have different pilot projects, and regarding the pilot project and the research platform, which I will then introduce in one slide, we are preparing one multi-technology electrolyzers platform to compare the different technologies. We will add some other technologies, Haber-Bosch, Fischer-Tropsch, as well, to be able to produce then green methanol, as well as then green ammonia. And then later on, as I said before, the idea is then to be able to produce as well green kerosene and green diesel. What are the steps? We have already then small electrolyzers. We're speaking about then the university range We have then up to 50 kilowatts. We are now preparing in partnership with Germany as well regarding then the technology transfer, preparing pilot projects with a capacity of 5 megawatt. We're speaking about 1 ton a day of a green ammonia, and we will start the construction of the research platform and the pilot projects by the beginning of 2021. And for the short term, maybe then in, I will say then in 3 years, we're as well preparing in Morocco a reference project with a test range between 10 megawatt to 100 megawatt. I believe it would be then more in the range of 100 megawatts. On the meantime, with our industrial partners, we're preparing as well the framework to be able to develop then large-scale project and then to go beyond the 1 gigawatt. And my colleague from Hydrogen Europe spoke about then the upscaling, especially as well for electrolyzers, is a very important topic. We would like as well, and I'm sorry because I have only then, I think, then 10 minutes, but if you allow me, if you give me then 1 minute or 2 minutes and more, I would like to speak about a cluster which we would like then to develop, as I said before, to be able to develop as well then the regional industrial integration. We would like to have a cluster without borders with different partners, and one of the first partner is Germany, and the idea is then to work on the topic of the hybridization of renewable energy, to work on the production, transport and storage of hydrogen, as well as then green chemistry, the transformation industry, carbon capture and storage, and of course hydrogen in the mobility on hydrogen. And the idea, and I think my colleague Khalid Ben Hammo will speak about then this integration, the idea is to develop then a kind of a new model for the energy partnership, a kind of a clean energy union, Europe-Africa. We spoke before, we had different presentations in which we spoke about then producers, consumers, exporters, importers, and I think it would be then very important to develop a kind of regional integration, to have this public-private partnership, and then to have a real partnership regarding the knowledge transfer, job creation, capacity building, local content, and even if I said this before, we have to avoid the mistakes which we did in the past. And the idea, of course, is to provide or to contribute to provide the clean energy for our planet. Last but not least, I would like then to speak about one event which we will organize by the beginning of December. We hope to be able to organize the event physically in Marrakesh, in Morocco. But if it's not the case due to the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, we will do it then virtually. Again, thank you very much for the kind invitation, and I would be then very happy to answer questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think that was a very encouraging one. First, you were only speaking about green hydrogen. I think that's an important message here. I think also refer to this talking about energy partnerships, which is also what your previous speaker spoke about. I see here there's a comment, imaginative and innovative work in Morocco, which is kind of saying, yes, you'd obviously your presentation, also others have seen very interesting. Let me ask a question, because of course we know that there was a discussion like 10 years ago about Desertec, you mentioned that as well. How would you see the relation between that idea at that time of producing electricity and then having a network, let's say, around the Mediterranean, so electricity supply and exchange and hydrogen? How would you see that related?
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. It's a very important one. A few years ago, I was involved on the Moroccan side regarding then the Desertec as well, the Desertec Industrial Initiative and Desertec then cooperation between then the North and the South. First of all, I will say, I believe we have now more possibilities because at that time, we spoke only about then the export of electricity. It was difficult because at that time, Morocco, as an example, needed then more to import electricity as to export electricity or clean electricity. We had maybe then to work more on the interconnections on the network and not only then to speak about then the relationship only then to export then the electricity. And then it was difficult because we were obliged to discuss with all the countries in which then we had on which we had then to go through those countries to export this electricity. I think that now we might have then regarding the integration and the development of a hydrogen market, we have then more possibilities. We have, first of all, then more partners because all the companies and industries which are then working in the field of gas and then oil might as well then play a role because they have as well the transport network and so on. And this is as well an opportunity. And then later on, we might then add as well then the export of electricity. I think we might have then more possibilities as in the past. I said as well then before, maybe then my message would be we have then to try to develop then a real regional industrial market. And not only then to say, to develop then the framework, to develop then the market, and then to say now it's open for everybody. This would be then a mistake because some countries invested a lot and at the end they supported only then foreign industries. I think for me the important message, we are developing regional markets and then we have to try then to work together. And now this is why I said at the beginning, this is not any more than a dream for the long term. I think for the short mid-term we would be then able then to realize all those projects together.
Very good. I think this is indeed a very good vision, also the idea of cooperation. So thank you very much again for your time, for sharing your first-hand information. And of course, we wish you all the best for your renewable energy hydrogen strategy for Morocco.